Hey everyone, welcome back to Play Casket. Another episode of Your Turn. This week, a lot of mourning can happen this week. Very sad. Actually, for the most part, I feel like it's just depressing because it's been raining for the last 2 weeks, like, consecutively here. Like, I didn't know mausoleums this far down are still gonna leak. It's just weird. It's weird. It's all wet and moist and moldy. It's gross.
Good thing we got good drainage.
Yeah. You do. But yeah, so there's a lot of weird closures, a lot of failures, a lot of stuff like that happening this week. Some of it was to be expected, and a lot of it is more like we're kind of recapping on the last several weeks, to be honest, as far as like this collective that's been happening. But there's some other interesting stuff that would probably come out of this that I feel like needs to be addressed. So we're just gonna go ahead and start it with it. What would you like to go ahead and start with?
Okay, well, I guess we get a laugh at Redfall. Mostly because it shows the fallacy of like the industry and just kind of like how this is like it shows the state of modern games, I guess.
I wouldn't say it shows the state of modern gaming, and I think the reason for a lot of people keep saying this is the state of modern gaming is because nobody looks past AAA anymore. Everyone wants to play the next big game, and everybody wants to talk about the next big game, and then everyone wants to show off that they're playing the next big game on online, social media, with their friends and all that, because it's the next big game. But it's crap. Like there's actually, like, what's funny is during Redfall's release, during Zelda's release, during like regardless how good or bad games are, during all these like major releases, there's several decent indie scene releases that I've been playing. You know, like for example, I have played Lunistis. I've been kind of digging through that quite a bit. Yes, I am aware it's been made by a furry, but it's actually a really good game and you should try it. Like, just as a disclaimer there. I'm not being paid, I'm not being forced, even though I'm pretty sure that person's personally wealthy because he is a furry. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It plays like a lot like a Crash. Smooth controls and all that. It's really good. I like it.
Oh, okay.
Right? And that's so far what I've been kind of grinding on, but there's stuff like Dungeon Defenders that I went back to, and I've been playing the Awakened version too since I finally picked it up on Switch. There's there was the name finally escapes me as soon as I need it. Thanks. I didn't need that apparently today. But it was like a farm sim that's indie. Not bad, you know. They'll come back to me one of these days. I'll talk about it in like a stream or something. Anyway.
Well, the thing is just like they don't bombard you. Like, you have to convince the normies to go dig for that stuff.
Well, it's not even to dig for it. Like, honestly, if it wasn't for the success that Shovel Knight had on the Wii U, because that's where it had it originally, people would be like, oh, I want to play that game too. Yeah, it was on the PC at the same time. Why didn't you play it then? Oh, well, I'm buying it now. Like, literally nobody wants to look it up because it's not the big game. It's not the big next big game. It's not. Like, everybody wants to buy the next Call of Duty. Everyone wants to buy the next 2K game. Everybody wants to buy the next XYZ RPG that gets announced and stuff. Everyone wants to do that. Like the next Zelda. Nobody wants to be like, oh, there's that one small game that Nintendo released. You want to buy that? No, it's not the next big game. They don't want to talk about that. They want to make pseudo penises that shoot fire out of on Zelda. I don't want to play the other game that could actually probably be funner. Like, nobody wants to do that. You know, they want to either be cool that they're hating the next big popular thing, or they want to be cool showing off that they're also in with the next big game. Like, it's always back and forth. It's never in the in-between. If you hate a game, why are you spending 80% of your time on the line telling people how bad the game is?
Because it's free, and it's on Xbox Game Pass.
You know? Like, that's just so stupid. You know? Like,
Redfall.
Well, no, I'm saying in general. Like, it's always just the next big game. Nobody's like paying attention to actually, like, there's some pretty decent good games that are getting released that are indie. You know? So you'll see stuff like Redfall come out like it's the next big game, and yet it craps the fucking floor. You know? And it happened, and this is not the only time this has happened.
Well, because like I'm trying to like, because basically, I don't know. Arcane Studio has been like really good with because like Prey, I don't know what it is because ZeniMax is kind of like, I don't know. Maybe ZeniMax just hates Arcane Studios because when Prey, because like Prey was not spoken about at all. Like I didn't know about it until like the week of, and then they were extremely vague about what the gameplay was. So I was just kind of like, well, I'll give it a try because everybody's like talking about how different it is. And I played it and I was like, oh my god, this is like, I love Prey. And ZeniMax was like, oh yeah, we developed that. We really like these guys.
It was kind of like how Ubisoft treated the first Assassin's Creed, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And it like they just and the thing is, I feel like it's not like, oh, I hate that team, so we're just not going to talk about it. It's just one of those smaller budget. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I think Halo released the same time, not the same day or the same month, like kind of in the same quarter. That Prey released at the same time. I think it was like either the like open beta or of Reach or something like that. I don't remember. It was another space game that came out not too distant from that. But it just like, for them, they would be like, oh shit, and they're like, just release it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we save. And it just, it started taking off because it was actually really good. And they're like, oh yeah, that was us. Pretty cool, huh? Especially because before that, all Arcane was known for was working with Rocksteady and making the Arkham series. And then, what was it? Arkham Knight or something like that? That was like where you had to fight the robot Batman, basically.
Okay.
Was awful. Was just god awful in comparison to the other three, right? And so they're like, oh, we should probably not put your name out there because everybody's going to associate it with the fourth one. When really I'd like associate it with the first two. I'm like, that was badass. I would do that again. I would give them another try, So I feel like that was the situation that did happen. But I think that's because of that and that previous failure. The company was like, let's just release it. Let's see where it goes.
Well, another thing too, I remember Prey was supposed to be called Neuroshock, so that the System Shock fans would recognize it. But because they called it Prey, and everybody was just like really confused on like what the hell is this supposed to be?
So they were trying to pull a Xenoblade, basically.
Yeah, well, because like, because they basically did base it off of System Shock.
Right.
It was a System Shock clone, and they wanted to call it Neuroshock. And then I can't remember who, but somebody just told them, no, call it Prey for some reason. They're like, fine. So they called it Prey. Nobody knew what the hell it was.
Thanks, producers. well, honestly, okay, so honestly, I'm going to say this on it. Like, I think Prey is a much better name. Legitimately.
Why so?
Because it's simple. It's not, it doesn't sound like, because when you think about it, a lot of Smash likes, or a lot of Dark Souls likes, and a lot of Zelda likes, all have like some kind of like naming
something
pattern with
Souls,
it.
Yeah. Or the legend of.
Yeah, the legend of,
or it's a Japanese,
or the legacy of the flower, or legacy of and it's like, it's Legend of Zelda, or the Fortnite ones are like blah 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 battle royale and stuff like that.
But it lets you know what you're getting yourself into. Like, if your cookies are named Hydrox,
I'd probably buy them. But no, but I think that's what they're trying to do, is they were trying to stand out. They're like, look, we're different from just being a BioShock like.
Yeah.
I feel like that was their attempt to say, we're not just another BioShock like, because it could, like, being a knockoff of BioShock, just like being a knockoff of anything, can really go either way. You can either be Genshin Impact, or you can be the Legend of the Clouds blah 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 edition, whatever, and nobody ever hears of it from you ever again after you release that one game. Or you can be like the battle royale games. You can be the Fortnite, because it was knocking off PUBG, or you can just be all the other battle royale games that came out. Like, there's always a risk of doing that, and I feel like they were like, we should probably not, and we should probably stand out, so that way when we do get popular, we're not getting hit with a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo from Bethesda, because Bethesda is and similar to that. 2K Games will sue anybody with the word monster in their game.
Yeah,
you know, like Bethesda is nowhere far away from that. Like they are pretty close to that type of actions too. Like they have sued people to having the word separated Starfields, and it's not even in their title. Like it was some kind of other weird like exploration space game. It was like travel the Starfields or whatever as like their like catchphrase or whatever, and they're like no. And this was a while ago. This was when they first announced Starfield, before they even made a teaser or anything like that for it.
Well, I do remember they went after this little indie game. Was it Pray for the Gods?
Yeah, something like
that. They had to change the name, basically. I can't remember how it went. But.
Yeah, so it's same thing. Reason why what was it? It's called Icarus Rising or something like that. Mm-hmm. The Ubisoft one had to change it because it was supposed to originally be called Gods and Monsters, and fucking Monster Energy sued them.
No, okay.
Like stuff like that. That's so stupid. But anyway, it's stuff like that just. There's also a reason they're like, oh, if this is good, we should just change our name then. You know, that way they don't have to fight all that. And like, hey, all that money that you just made previously, that's ours too. You know, that could tank them. That could entirely tank a whole studio right there.
So yeah, Arcane Studios. What the hell are you guys doing? Right.
They're being paid by stupid producers who think that they need to have tighter control over everything. Because isn't Redfall a service game?
It was. They backtracked on that.
Okay.
So, but there's a lot, but there still is a in-game store. And then,
you know, I'm kind of wishy-washy on an in-game store, especially even with a game that you buy, right? I can see a reason why you need it for a free-to-play, because you gotta have income coming from somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, reasonable. I can negotiate on something like that. Even though I ultimately do not believe in games as a service overall, like ultimately, I can see why some games benefit from that practice, benefit from that approach, and benefit from, you know, how they make their money. Mm-hmm. Like League of Legends, as much as I don't want to play it, as much as I don't think it's a very like fun game, as much as I think their alternative adventure games are much better, I can see why people want to just play the original game. Mm-hmm. But like it's just, even when you pay for a game like that, honestly, they should just, for the most part, I say, just make a game that's just a whole total experience. People keep going, oh, we need more maps and stuff like that, and I honestly feel like that is probably the dumbest consumer end mistake ever, is just expecting more just because you love that game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's people out there that are complaining that Mario Tennis didn't have as many maps. But I was like, didn't you guys used to play that shit on the GameCube, and it only had like half the maps it originally has? You know, like, it's stuff like that. Like, or Melee. Melee has like a third of the maps than like any of the other games. And hell, Ultimate even has the ability to turn hazards off, which makes several of the other stages that are new, like, competitively viable. Mm-hmm. Because it just gets rid of the Midgard stage and stuff. Competitively viable because of that, right? But a lot of people still play Melee, but they're still expecting more stages in Ultimate, because even though it's like 3 times more, because I think this whole games as a service mentality is, oh, this game's so popular, it should give me more free shit, and then they just come in, dawdle with it, and then leave again. It's like ARMS. You're like, man, they need to make more characters. ARMS was dying until they made this character. I'm like, yeah, but you went in, played for it like 4 or 5 rounds, and then you left again. Like, obviously the characters aren't what's making this game stick around.
Yeah, fighting games are a hard sell.
Well, in general, you know, like, even if you're like, oh, I like these games, even as a service game, like, a lot of people who have had their fill, ultimately, doesn't matter what. Mm-hmm. If they had their fill, they're like, man, I really need an excuse to go back into it, and they release something that makes you go back into it, 80% of the time, you're not going back into it dedicatedly, you know? And games as a service is also very overwhelming, because one of these days you're going to go in and you're like, oh shit, there's so much crap I have to catch up on, you know? The grinds and the like unlocks and all the other characters you have to get used to and all that crap. Like, it's just insane.
Or it's dead and after 200 hours and spending
Yeah.
$300.
Yeah.
It's dead.
It's dead. Thanks, Battle Right. And the thing is, I'm upset with Battle Right doing that too. You know, I love that game. That game was amazing. That game is literally the game that people want, like, League of Legends to be. And then when it came out, they're like, nah, we'll just play League of Legends. I'm like, that's
Invest what you're willing to lose.
Yeah. Ultimately, you know, consumer advice right there. You know, we're not consumer experts. But yes, Redfall.
That's why I played on Game Pass, right? Because I didn't have to pay for it. Technically.
Yep. So yeah, Redfall tanked. Any more unique shit that you want to mention about Redfall at all? That is just like worth mentioning now that we're bringing it up again.
I mean, I guess they have like.
I'm sure everybody's already beaten this thing to the ground. To be honest, we're so far
poor
behind.
Redfall.
Our algorithm
I wanted
shit.
to like it, but basically it was they had no direction on what they wanted to do with it too. That's kind of why, if you get the chance to play it on Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, it goes like a bunch of weird ways because it's like it wants to be Borderlands, it wants to be a horror shooter, it wants to be like Fortnite. Like it's all over the place, and you get like everything on your pizza, including ice cream and dessert, and it's like nobody wants to eat it because
it has everything.
Yeah, it had everything. Like, is it a cake? Is it a pizza? Is it a burger? Yeah, you don't know.
Yes. So yeah, there's that. But on top of that, there's been not just like games failing, but there's like modes being canceled and stuff too. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be another one because, like I said, our algorithm's garbage right now. Like there is some cancellation of the legendary PvE mode for Blizzard and Overwatch, which honestly, if I feel like most, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think most of the outrage of this PvE mode is from people who don't even play Overwatch. I'm going to be perfectly ingenuine. And I'm not talking about people,
okay.
I'm not even talking about people who just hate Blizzard in general or anything like that.
I do have to be fair that I would say that it's something I do want to play, but the PvE aspect or the PvP aspect of it kind of turns me off because it's just kind of like how do I put it, like if Breath of the Wild was a PvE game, I'm like, I don't want to play Breath of the Wild then, if that makes sense.
A PvP game.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
weird, but
ultimately the thing is, if you were one of the people who are like actually a dedicated Overwatch fan, like, and I mean it genuinely, not one of those like orbiting artists that just makes Rule 34 nonsense and stuff like that, or just makes cosplay, or somehow makes all the characters somehow headcanoningly not straight, regardless of what it is. You would have already gone, when they announced it, you would have been like, yeah, that's not coming. Like, I played enough of Overwatch 1, and I don't play it very often. Like, I played enough Overwatch 1, I played enough of the events and stuff, because I liked the weird special events. Like, for some reason, that was my jam. Like, I liked all the weird ones like that, right? That stuff was more entertaining to me, and even then, playing enough of it, I can already tell you that when they announced Overwatch 2, it was gonna be basically, we're just putting this on a new server style engine, like a way to where their back end development can be installed better. I feel like that was the only reason why they were announcing 2 anyway. Because it felt, for a lot of people, when it was announced, it was like, that was way too early to announce a sequel that fast. You guys don't announce sequels for at least 10 years. What the hell's wrong? Why 3 years later you announce a sequel for Overwatch? What?
Well, that's kind of why.
Like, it was 10 years until you got a sequel for StarCraft. What the hell's going on here?
Well, was Overwatch 1 even in 1.0, like, out of...
Yeah.
Okay, because it feels like, what are there, 2? There's Point, Escort, and Deathmatch, right? And that's it?
Yep.
Wow.
And that was the same way it's always been before. That it's just multiple different maps. And the thing is, a lot of people who go, oh, there's only 3 modes. Well, here's the thing. Like, even with those modes, right? And this happens with a lot of games, period. This is not just an Overwatch thing. This is fundamentally how a lot of like games work. Even if it's a point match, if it's a tower defense, if it's a King of the Hill, if it's a capture the flag, if it's a escort or whatever mode, you can have 3 different maps so dynamically different that each one of those maps feel like a completely different version of that mode, just because of how certain characters excel there, or certain weapons excel there, or certain skills excel there, and certain areas that you would have to want to keep watch on. Paladins has the same thing. There's a King of the Hill point where you cover a point that's on the bottom, so having snipers as far as you can to try to find the best way to get into that little small hole from a distance was primo. But if nobody had that, you must be tanky as a son of a bitch, because that point area was always just bombarded with damage all the time. Whereas another King of the Hill, it's just surrounded by 4 different walls with 4 different openings, and you could just bunker down in a corner, shift it up periodically, and you could have the most evenly matched assets and archetypes to approach it. So these modes can often feel drastically different when you have certain characters that do certain things, with a certain map that does certain things, with certain it's with people who say, oh, it's only these modes, that just feels empty. Really isn't. Like, when you actually play those stuff, and I'm not even trying to defend Overwatch with this, because there's a series of competitive scenes that are very much like this too. It's similar to why people like very specific maps on Smash Brothers, because it's like the most evenly placed and evenly challenging for most of the characters in the game. That's why they try to go either Final Destination or Battlefield or what have you, because it was the most quote unquote even. Whereas stuff like Smashville, one of the platforms could be closer to the second player, which then gives that second player an ultimate aerial advantage if that character excels in air. Stuff like that. And it changes how you play the game. Very similar to how, like, certain changes of a mode in just a traditional fighting game, like certain skills kind of do certain things. If you can adjust one tweak of that'll change the entire property of how your combo rolls out. So it's one of those type of things. But for going all the way back to the fact that Overwatch canceled this thing.
PvE, by the way.
Yeah. So
because they bring such a cool dynamic character, because like, oh, here's these characters in this real world scenario, in this big thriving environment, and then it's all PvE. So like, I think what they should have opened up with their trailers was use a PvE style type of trailer, rather than just make it like, oh, here's this big giant world you could explore, if that makes sense.
Of Overwatch?
Yeah, because their introduction to the characters.
So the introduction to the characters, it's more like world building with the characters, and people keep saying, man, it would be really cool to have an PvE, because they do have a lot of lore that could be better written with a PvE experience, because it doesn't make sense in a PvP setting when you have characters that are supposed to hate each other on the same team.
Yeah.
And I understand where people are saying, oh, they should have opened up with this and this. The problem with it is that, and Blizzard has stated this, so it's not really on Blizzard's end. Like, oops, my bad. It's literally like Blizzard, even Evil Mojo for Paladins even also said that, look, even if we kill off a character, it's just killed off canonically. You are not going to lose a character because we kill him off in the game. Because it makes no sense to do so in the game setting.
Yeah.
And
looking at you, Capcom.
Yeah. And Or do it like Mortal Kombat and go, what death? Like, what canonical death? I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, no, I'm like, it's just, Blizzard has even said that the PvP experience will never just fundamentally be canon to the experience of how the characters are rolled out. Do you not know how that would mess with people? People are like, oh, I want to be Junkrat, and then you just get isolated to like 5 other characters.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, like immediately the one guy just like speed locks in Junkrat, and then suddenly only the other characters that are like they're connected to Junkrat can be played. Mm-hmm. Like that's not going to fundamentally work. That's going to be a lot worse than what they. That will pan worse than the rumors of the harassment. let's be real here. Like they're like, man, I would have just wished that you were like harassing people then.
That's good news though, because they can make more gay characters.
Yeah, right. Just always. The thing is, I can't wait for them to like have characters that would canonically be bi or straight because they have kids in the thing, like Anna and Farah. I can't wait for them to be like, did you know that Anna's actually non-binary? And you're like, what? He's like, well, did you know that she's really a trans and she can get pregnant too? Like, is this all they're gonna pull that the whole fucking ripcord, and it's just gonna make so much less sense for everything, and it's gonna get too over the top that only the Twitter people are like, oh my god, my Rule 34 fantasy is real now. Nah.
Fuck your fanfic.
That's basically all it is.
Yeah.
That's the only people who actually care about that is the fact that they have some kind of Rule 34 like headcanon that's now just been confirmed, and now they just like they can't handle themselves. That's all it is.
Yeah, pros.
That's literally all it is. Pros don't really give a crap. Most of the world doesn't give a crap. Most of your straight people don't really give a crap. No one gives a crap. No one. And people go, well, it's not shoving down your throat. Yeah, dude, when you literally have to sit there and you like scroll through a bunch of stuff, yeah, it's kind of shoving in your face. And when you go, just ignore it. It's the same type of attitude that you should have when people are like, you should not play that horrible wizard game because it's going to cause problems for me. No, shut up. Nobody cares. Nobody genuinely cares.
You still
right?
played it anyways.
And it's so stupid, right?
Yeah.
They just use it as a deflection so people just like, oh, you're just outraged because they have XYZ as a XYZ. No. They literally just did this other thing with PvE. No, that's not why you're angry. I know why I'm angry,
You took my modes away.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they should have never announced it.
Yeah.
Okay? Not never made it. They should have never announced it. Because honestly, I think it was so far back in development, they're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off. Because honestly, and this happens to a lot of development. This happens a lot. There's so much stuff that gets canceled that we'll never know about. Mm-hmm. And why should we be angry about something we will never know about? You know what I mean?
Peter Molly knew it. Just keep your damn mouth shut and quit putting in modes that you don't have.
That's exactly my fucking point. Everyone who is at least well known and well versed in Blizzard's antics are like, that's not coming. Like, that's not coming. Because I'm of the group of people who was once promised a stealth action adventure game in the StarCraft universe where you played as Nova and you played as StarCraft Ghost and you were killing Hydralisks and stuff on a console game, and you were going to make those console games, but then you bought a company to develop that console game, but then you just absorbed it and just made StarCraft 2 4, 5, 6 years later? Yeah. No, I'm fully aware that you guys don't do these things very often, which would honestly, I legitimately think that if they made an RPG kind of similar to like a mix of Elder Scrolls meets Kingdoms of Amalur, if they made something similar to in that vein and just made it as like a retelling of like an orc or a human's perspective of World of Warcraft, and you just happen to be there in the first classic edition of the storytelling of either continent, and just be told a lot of the story from that perspective, that would make more people go back to WoW. And it's just a single player.
Yeah.
It's a single player RPG that kind of has those modes. You build your character however you want. make them a warrior, make them a whatever. It won't be like static, and let them be highly flexible because I think it will allow you to really want to go back into that game. It's stylized, so it'll stand out and all that. You could easily do that and bring more people to WoW, but you won't do it because it's a single player experience, and you apparently are allergic to that shit. That's exactly how it works. There's never been a single player experience that is solely developed and focused on in any way, shape, or form from Blizzard themselves. There are some games that you can technically play single player, but it was not developed with single player in mind. Not a single one of their games since they moved on to like StarCraft and Warcraft and stuff like that. They have never done it since. They've made several console games way back in the day. That was it. And people sit there and complain that, oh, it's PvE and you ruined it. They were going to do this anyway. If you are upset, you're either faking it or you were never a fan to begin with. Yes, I will gatekeep that because you are obviously very moronic and you just want to find something to complain about. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so ridiculous. Anyway, rant over. I really don't like Blizzard anyway nowadays. I hate the fact that I have to defend them because it's the most obvious crap. Stop it.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll probably have to kill off my series too, so that's fine. Gundam live action, I'm looking at you.
But yeah, like it's just one of those things. It's like it's obvious if you paid attention. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's Blizzard. Like, look at the backlog, look at the back catalog, look at their reputation outside their stupid harassment crap.
I guess
just their game related stuff, and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
They've never released a single player game. Nah, this will be different. No, it's not. Shut up.
Well, I guess I do have to say too, if it doesn't come baked in, don't count on it. Like, just anything in general.
Yeah, and unless they actually start like showing off like modes and sections and stuff, not just talking about it at a BlizzCon and stuff. Don't even start. Like even when they announce an expansion and they're like, oh, these are all these things, until they start talking about it like in detail over a period of time, you'll start seeing how it changed since the original announcement. Like, let's be real here, and that's exactly what happens. Pardon me. Let me from arguing and getting heated up.
And then Pool's closed. Vanpool.
Oh yeah, Vanpool also closed. We are already. I didn't realize I was gonna have a rant about the fact that I don't like Blizzard and I have to defend them. It sucks. It gets me triggered, guys. It does. Don't make me do it.
I'll just wait until I have to kill Monster Hunter. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Oh my god, dude! And the thing is, I want to play Diablo 4.
Yeah.
Like I kind of want to, but at the same time, outside updating the computer, which I'm pretty sure I can easily do, but another part of me doesn't want to. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't want to. And it's not even like it's not even for the weird woke crap and stuff. Like, even the stuff. Okay, I'll say this now: the woke stuff is like highly negligible because they're like, oh, you made the druids ugly. I'm like, dude, the druids were ugly to begin with. Like, honestly, the uglier these characters are in Diablo, more matches what I always imagined them. To be perfectly honest. Like, when they were too pretty, like when they're like designed in Heroes of the Storm, I was like, why are you pretty?
Korea. Right?
Yeah, basically, that's exactly it.
Please play.
That's the whole reason why that server's still running. Is Korea. Korea still plays the crap out of that. But I'm like, I always imagined Diablo as a franchise to be just really grotesquely ugly,
really
even
gritty.
With the women and stuff, really gritty, really just ugly.
Okay.
So it's always been one of those, like, that was the whole reason why I loved Blizzard was Diablo. So I'm one of those people, right? Cool, right? But even with their woke nonsense, that game is negligible about it. Like, it's not. It's like, oh my god, no. The druids are supposed to be big. Like, I kind of expected it to be because the druid dude was big. If you made the female just super svelte, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, you already had everyone else super skinny on it anyway. Like, I was like, give me an ugly, burly looking woman, and I'm just gonna humiliate everyone with it, just because everyone's gonna be like, oh, I got beaten by the. No, you're not. It's just ugly, and it's great. I like the ugly things. I don't know why. I like ugly characters. So there's that. Like, Roadhog in Overwatch was great. I liked him. Anyway,
Vanpool.
Back to the other track. Go back on the other track. Vanpool, the people who used to do a lot of ports, a lot of background work for a lot of Nintendo's Kirby games, especially a lot of the ports. They did a lot of the background port work and stuff like that. So Hal can work on other games stuff. Vanpool's closing. They're also responsible for the Dylan's Rolling Western games, which sucks. This sucks for me. Okay, so Nintendo still owns half of it. So ultimately, Nintendo owns whole of it. Because let's be honest, how can a dead company kind of defend their side of the thing? So Nintendo ultimately, by the official closure, Nintendo will fully own the IP. But it sucks because Dylan Rolling Western, man, that is a hard game to say really fast. It's a great concept. It's a great fundamental game, and I felt like it can really benefit. It was one of those. It was like a tower defense game, like with a Nintendo spin on it.
Oh, okay.
You know, and the tower defense games out there, for some reason, are very popular. Like even the most mundane ones. I'm like, I don't get it. You know, there's a lot of ones on mobile and stuff. I tried a couple. I'm like, why? These are boring. You just tap. All right, cool. Watch them die. Like this game, and then there was a game way back in the day called Lock's Quest on the original DS, where like you were on the ground and you're like fighting against them and stuff too. I was like, that crap right there is awesome. But yeah, Dylan is basically being sunsetted by that. So Nintendo can still make a game, but let's be real. Nintendo made their own games that they themselves own collectively in their own internal department that they still won't touch. Hi, F-Zero. So, you know, it's one of those games that's just like, it's a small series. I don't even think they're going to make a port of a trilogy, and I thought they should. I really did. You know?
Damn. What are they going to do with the... What are they going to do with the manpower?
The manpower, so people keep saying that Nintendo should have just bought the company, which honestly, if Nintendo had to buy every single company that they ever worked with all the time, they'd be broker than Sony.
Well, the thing is, like, when you hire new people, you can't. It doesn't create jobs automatically.
Well, even then, you're also looking at. Let's put it this way. Let's say, in theory, right? Nintendo buys Vanpool, right, fully as a whole studio, right? Now, with some restructuring, let's say they fired about 10% of their workforce. Restructuring because they won't need the leadership positions, or as many of the leadership positions if now Nintendo's in the leadership. You know, so they're going to just divest a couple of their own internal leadership to oversee Vanpool, which is what they do everywhere, right? Even then, they are absorbing 2 new IPs for one company to develop on top of the fact that they have F-Zero, Codename Steam, they have Good Job, they have a plethora of other IPs that people do not want to touch or do not have, like, they want people to, like, the community wants them. Community wants an F-Zero. They want a Tomodachi Life. They want all of these games, right? And they want them ported. They don't care if it's ported, whatever. Nintendo doesn't have the manpower to keep acknowledging every single one of these things. Oh, they have money. They could hire people. That doesn't guarantee them to sell enough. Let's put it this way. If F-Zero literally came out a month after Zelda, do you really think everybody's going to buy that game after that?
Yeah.
No. There's going to be so many people still playing Zelda for like 6-7 months before they start moving on to an actual game. You know? Like, that's the whole reason why I think Advance Wars is going to be reported as in just selling barely a million copies. They're like, I guess they don't like Advance Wars. I hate Nintendo for releasing it then. You know? And that's just how it is. You can't just... People are like, what's going to happen? If Nintendo buys all these companies and just starts releasing a new game every 2 weeks, do you really think they're going to sell 1 million copies every 2 weeks? Are they? No! Nobody has that type of financial power.
Yeah, I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to sell all throughout the year. It's going to be like,
dude,
everybody's going to get it for Christmas, everybody's going to get it for fall.
I think it's going to spike so hard in the holidays. It's going to, like, if Pokemon has nothing, if Pokemon has nothing to show this year, which, I mean, even their more lucrative spin-offs, if they have nothing this year, I think they do. I think they have like something. I think they might have a port or a remake of something.
Yeah.
We won't know until later. They usually do. But if they don't have anything, Zelda's just gonna tower over everything. Like, even Pikmin 4 that releases in September isn't gonna be anywhere near. Like, it's just not gonna happen, dude.
Yeah, no. Tears of the Kingdom is still in the news today, so.
Dude, it's not even just in the news. It's in memes. It's in like algorithms. And people are like, oh, I use IP blockers. Doesn't matter. If you don't even have an account and you just log in, that's gonna be even worse. Because meanwhile, I have algorithms of like indie studios and stuff like that, or how to develop certain games, or how to do this certain things, or even artists and stuff that I follow. I still get all this Zelda crap from people I don't even know. I have not even watched the trailers. I don't really like. It's one of those games. Like, look, I watched the first trailer, and I've already made the decision that it's just going to be more of the Breath of the Wild with some unique quirks and stuff. And a lot of the stuff that they're doing is creative and fun. I can't wait to play that eventually, but I can wait until it's like $60. You know, like a brand new game again. You know, like I'm not paying $70 for it. But for the most part, it's just I see it everywhere, all the time, endlessly. So, you know, there's that. So
Vanpool, closed.
Yeah,
right?
Vanpool's closed. Zelda for some reason. Yeah. But no, I think Nintendo's gonna probably soak up and absorb some of the people and put them into HAL's development team. I think that's going to happen is because they have familiarity with Kirby, so I can see them going, hey, guess what, you're going to be doing the port stuff for HAL Laboratories, and we're going to have you do Planet Robobot. Theoretically, I'd like that to happen, but theoretically, that's just it.
Well, there has been a tech job massacre as well too, because tons of people are just getting laid off like ridiculous amounts too.
Yeah.
So
it's just because everybody offered their work cheap. Almost everywhere offered the work cheap right out the gate. So they're hiring a bunch of cheap
venture
work
capitalism
tech.
too.
And then when everybody starts getting that money, then when everybody starts getting that confidence, when everybody starts getting that talent, they're like, hey, look, my money's worth this. Nope. No, it ain't anymore.
Yeah.
Go find it somewhere else. And that's exactly what's happening. That and venture capitalism and stuff. Like, it's not just one thing. Like, when you hire 15 tech newbies for newbie pay, and they all become tech adept, and then they become tech masters, they're all going to ask for tech master pay.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to have 15 tech masters when you only need 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to filter out, and they're going to be like, the rest of you go find something else to do. So that's why, again, another reason to back up indies, because that's just where everyone's going. That's going to be a shit ton more games, a shit ton more ideas, a shit ton more like unique, extreme and creative ideas.
But you got to sell people on it though.
Yeah, you do. But that's the point, because people are dumb, and a lot of people who want to try to promote indies, they just don't ever promote them. They're like, yeah, indies. Have you played them? No. I have a bunch. I do. I have a bunch. I have way too many in physical too. I've just been playing a lot of the older indies right now. I've just been buying a couple older ones, just enjoying those. But that doesn't matter. That's not because there's games out there that I look forward to that are hyped like that, like Blasphemous 2, for example. I'm planning on picking up Slime Rancher 2 or Earthlock 2 one of these days. Yes, I am one of the people who actually enjoyed Slime Rancher. That's really weird. I get it. I understand. But that's just what it is. Anyway. Tragic. But I do think a lot of the talent's going to get absorbed by Nintendo, especially the stuff that knows how to do the back-end porting stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of programming stuff. So, I don't think they're going to be at a loss. I don't think Nintendo's going to be at a loss, except for the IP that they're going to squat on forever. So, I want to try to... Let's go ahead and stop right there, because there's a whole lot of stuff I can probably rant about, but we're going to mellow out there. I want to say to every one of you, thank you all for listening in. If you like our content, feel free to like, subscribe, share. You know, kind of like how everybody else regurgitates that stuff. Feel free to hit the bell if you want to actually get more engaged with us on If you like our content, feel free to always share it with everybody else and talk about everyone else. And, as always, we will see you on the other side. Hey everyone, this is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.